Okay, this is going to look at strict liability. So I have told you in my previous videos, actus reus plus mens rea equals criminal liability. Now, this is law. That's not always true. Sometimes you can be guilty just by committing the actus reus. Now, these are called strict liability offences. Strict liability offences are often summary in nature and not that serious, and they involve issues of social concern. So, for example, if you are speeding, you might have been caught doing 40 in a 30. Were you doing 40 in a 30? Yes, you are guilty. You could say, but I didn't know, I didn't intend to. It doesn't matter. The actus reus is going over the speed limit. You were doing that, so you are guilty. If you are a shop and you sell alcohol to somebody under 18, what if they've shown you fake ID and it looks really realistic? Well, have you sold alcohol to someone under 18? Yes, you are guilty. So they're generally not that serious. However, the Sexual Offences Act of 2003 said if you have sex with somebody who is under 13, it is a strict liability offence. So you will be guilty of rape because it's impossible to consent if you are under 13. Now, how do we know if a crime is one of strict liability? When you look at an act of parliament, so you look at the act, you look at the wording, if words like intention or recklessness or knowingly or dishonestly are missing, then it's going to look like a crime of strict liability. There's no mens rea. You only have to prove the actus reus. However, judges will presume mens rea. So if the offence is criminal and truly criminal, they will say, actually, we think Parliament got it wrong. We actually think you should also prove not just the actus reus, but you should also have to prove the mens rea. And this was established in the case of Sweet and Parsley. So the defendant was a teacher. She rented her house out to students who used drugs. She didn't know, but the relevant crime said if you let your house out to people who use drugs, you're guilty. So she was convicted. However, the House of Lords quashed this and said, actually, we think this is a very criminal kind of offence. Therefore, we think you should have to prove mens rea. She didn't have mens rea, so we are going to quash her conviction. Other examples that I would mention of strict liability cases, the Pharmaceutical Society. Defendant supplied drugs, but the prescription was forged. Now, House of Lords upheld the convictions and said this is an issue of public safety. This is strict liability. Have you supplied drugs to somebody who shouldn't have had them? Yes, well, you are guilty. Callow. Defendant took the meat to a vet to check it was fit for human consumption. The vet said yes, it was. Turns out it wasn't. However, the defendant was guilty because have they sold meat that's not fit for human consumption? Yes, they didn't do it knowingly, but we don't care about the mens rea. Have they got the actus reus? Yes, you are guilty. And these are all, you can kind of see there's a theme. It's protecting the public. The case of Shah, the owners told the staff to ID people, so to check the age for the lottery. Staff sold the ticket to somebody under age. The owners were found guilty. They weren't even there at the time, but have their premises sold a ticket to somebody who's underage? Yes, they're guilty. And then a final case that backs up Sweet and Parsley is a case called B. So defendant was 15 and asked a 13-year-old girl for oral sex. House of Lords said, well, this is a really serious offence. Defendant didn't know she was so young. Therefore, we are going to say you have to presume mens rea to be guilty of this offence. And the court turned around and said, well, he didn't have mens rea because he didn't know. Therefore, he was not guilty of an offence.